want them to say that this her legacy was basically filled with being able to always like pivot and try new things. So I want them to be able to say like, you know what, she did not confine herself. She did not like lock herself into one thing. So if you notice with my content, I'm trying new things all the time. I'm doing different things all the time. So I'll probably fit into what they would consider a lifestyle influencer, even though, like I said, I don't consider myself an influencer, but I would fit into that because I just feel like life is to be lived. And I want people to look at my legacy and see like she did not stop at nothing. She tried everything. Like she went out here, she did this, she did that, and she had a great time doing it.
Welcome back to Blog Access 101. I'm your host, Rob. This is episode 301. I'm here today with a special guest, Yan Shanklin, who is a life coach, content creator, as well as a life coach. What's up, Yan?
Hey Rob, how are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Just to start it off, for people that's meeting you for the first time, tell them who Yan Shanklin is beyond the titles, and how would you describe your journey thus far in your own words?
Yeah, so Yan is beyond the titles. I would say a woman of God, somebody who's constantly heavily on her faith and building her relationship daily with God. I strive to do what it is that God called me to do. And so beyond the titles, I'm a woman who is just, perfectly imperfect, right? Like, my walk has been kind of like a journey. And yeah, I would say that I'm somebody who is constantly trying to strive for how can I do exactly what it is that God is calling me to do. I would also say that she's a bubbly and energetic and happy person. That's the person that you see on social media, and that's exactly who she is outside of that.
Oh yeah, you brought up social media. Definitely always enjoy some of your content on Instagram and then even on YouTube, especially the Cavs content when you take everybody through your fits and when you go into the game. You guys are actually doing pretty good this year. You got James Harden. That's a big move for you guys. Hopefully he stays healthy because I got him in my fantasy teams. I see him
Yeah.
out again with a finger injury. I'm like, Jesus.
I know, right? I'm like, come on, we cannot win.
Right. Well, at least hopefully he'll be right for the playoffs. So that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Which leads me to my next question. Like, how does your journey into digital content creation and what inspires you to pursue professionally?
Yeah, so I actually got out of a relationship about 6 years ago, and I just decided I was just going to start posting and showing up and showing myself more and showing my personality. So what ended up happening was people just started to follow me, and I was like, what's going on? Like I said this before, like on another podcast I did, when even as my followers continued to climb, it was like, you guys like me? But it just started happening. Then once I was like terminated from my job in January of 2025 last year, I was like, just trying to figure things out. And as I started navigating that journey, that's when I was like, you know what? One thing I haven't done is post it every single day on social media. Let me start taking this more seriously. So in the past year, I would say is when I started taking it a little bit more seriously than I have. And so, yeah, I've spent the last 6, maybe almost 7 months posting every single day. And that's when I decided to go ahead and pursue it seriously.
Yeah, because a lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of people that first get into it, or even been for a while, they're trying to find like they're like locked in on perfection. But sometimes you just got to post it, and
Mhm.
you can learn from mistakes, or it could be something that blows up, where people actually like it. And that's why I always tell people all the time, you better post stuff that you like, that's your authentic self. Because if you post stuff that's not really you, and then it starts getting traction, you gotta be that person. As we see a lot of times on social media, people be faking. You see them elsewhere, and it's like, oh, they're not that same person.
Yeah, exactly.
When you can get your be your authentic self and still pop, that's always like the beauty. And also it makes it easier to do the post every day, because people want to see your content and you're posting stuff that you actually like to do. So that's
Yeah.
definitely lit. And sometimes breakups bring up new beginnings. That's something you know about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's actually something I was talked about in my book. And I say, like, my breakup was one of the things, or was the best thing that happened for me because it opened up this door of, new possibilities. So, Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's like, at the beginning, it's like, oh, dang, like, why this happened? Then it's like, you start the healing process, and you was like, oh, yeah, we should have been did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but how would you describe your personal brand, and how have you seen it evolve over the years?
Yeah, so my personal brand, I would say like it is, geared towards people who want to better themselves. So like one thing that you'll find across all of my bios is that I say, here to inspire you and motivate you. So my personal brand is rooted in that. And it's always been that since I started, but I will say the things that have changed is just how I present myself on social media. Like, I very much did start out in a space where I kind of would just hop on trends and stuff sometimes, like, oh, this applies to me, I'm gonna hop on this trend. Now, with my brand, you see me just showing up, talking about the things like you said, like, doing what I actually love, which I did that before. I was always showing up authentic, but now I'm like, I don't really care about a trend. Like, if I want to post this, I'm going to post this. Like, so my brand is constantly evolving. But yeah, it's a brand that's created to inspire and motivate people to be the best versions of themselves. And I always say I wouldn't consider myself an influencer. I would consider myself an inspirer because the amount of stories I've gotten from people who are like, you know what, you really inspired me to start going hard at this or that. That's what I do it for, and that's what my personal brand is all about.
That's definitely a bar when you say I'm not really influenced, I'm inspired, and to get that
Yeah.
joint on a shirt. But it's definitely a good feel, particularly on social media, because you never know who might come across your page. And like, a lot of times people, we all know everybody's going through something personally, something big and maybe small, but sometimes they see a message that might resonate with them, and it can get them back on the right track. So yeah, that's definitely big. Um,
Absolutely.
well, you briefly talked about it. What role does authenticity play in how you create and share content?
Yeah, so I mean, it plays the entire role. So when I first started, like I said, I just started posting. I was just showing up as myself. I was just like, you know what, I'm here. I might do a trend, might do this, and that's how I built my audience. Like people were just like, who is this? Like I like her. Like I like her energy. Once I started showing up that way, that's how I started building it, and that's what I've stayed rooted in. I never want to fake it because it's like I can't even fake it. Honestly, I won't do some content if I feel like it's not true to me. So it plays the entire role when it comes to content creation, and even when I decide who I'm going to collaborate with. If I know that I cannot show up as myself 100%, then I don't even do the collaboration. So yeah, it's very key and it's central to any piece of content that I create.
Yeah, that's why so you definitely got to be picky, but like who you do the collaborations with,
Mhm.
because even obviously you know how to represent yourself, but you don't ever know what somebody else going to say or what they represent, and if it
Yeah.
don't resonate with your fans or followers, that can deter from your traction that you made on social media just by hooking up with the wrong people. Because a lot of people try to hook up with people that have like a whole lot of followers, and I get
Mhm.
it because you're trying to get that reach and get those followers from them. But sometimes you can be doing something with point A, but they're doing point B, and it really don't correlate. And now, like you had this nice following, well, you got to connect with this person, but it really didn't build no traction because it wasn't authentic.
Yep, absolutely.
How do you balance creativity with strategy when building your platform?
Yeah, so this is something that I actually have been seeing myself kind of like still having to work on regularly. So like I always say to myself, what do you want to show up and do today? So like when it comes to the strategy portion of it, that's actually something I could do a little bit better at. But for me right now, when it comes to creativity, I actually let creativity thrive over a strategy. So the other day, for example, it snowed, and that just came to me. I was like, it really snowed, and I once I said that, I was like, I'm about to make a video about this. And so like you see me like walking out
No,
like
it
it really
really
snowed.
snowed.
It really snowed. But like that creative thing, like that just came to me. And so I love thriving in that space. And when something comes to me, letting it come. That's not to say I'm not strategic about anything that I post because there are some things that I'm preparing for. For example, because my book signing is coming up, I've already planned that out. I already have some of that content created so that it's ready so that I'm not worrying about it. So when it comes to stuff that's coming up, like, and I know it's like a really big deal, I try to, strategize and plan out for that. But I like to let the creativity just thrive when idea comes to me. I execute.
Wrong with that, having a little healthy balance. But bringing up the snow, I pray I don't see any more snow
I know,
um,
right? Because
the
I
rest of
couldn't
this year.
believe it snowed.
Like I don't know how what it was down there, but it snowed like twice in 1 month down here, and I'm just like, yeah, I need to
Yeah,
move back
it was
west.
like that here too.
Yes, scary. I guess this is for all the years we weren't really getting snow. It's like, oh, let's give them 10 inches
Yes.
here, and another eight
Yeah,
inches another day. It's like goodness.
yeah, absolutely.
Uh, what metrics typically matter the most to you? Is it engagement, reach, impact, or something else? I think you briefly touched on it, and if so,
Yeah.
which one?
Yeah, I would say like it's impact more than anything. Because it's like if I'm when I'm posting content and stuff like that, like yeah, I want it's engagement too. Like I want it to be engaging, of course. But it's like, how am I impacting people? How is this helping people? Is this inspiring people? Like, So I would say the most important on that list to me is impact. So I'm really big on my faith. So I always try to have a faith-based message that I'm posting. If I don't do it almost every day, which I would like to get to doing it every day, but I'm doing it multiple times in a week. So like one of the things I started doing a lot more too is like even posting more on Twitter and building my audience over there as well. And it's extremely and heavily faith-based because that's, where I'm at in my journey and where I'll continue to be as I navigate forwards. Impact's going to take the most. Of course, engagement is good. And even on those videos that don't do as great, like I always say I don't believe in a flop because another video is going to drop. Like I'm going to have another one come. And I even look at those and say like, say it only got to 1,000 people, but 100 people liked it. I'm like, that's still a 10% engagement. So that's still a great video and it hit those 10% people and hopefully it touched them in some way. So again, going back to impact, I would say impact at the top of that list for me.
Yeah, because for real, like a lot of people, impact, the right impact is is gonna get the right engagement, right reach. So it's like it really is like the pillar for all of them. Then it trickle down.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, that's dope that you're doing a lot of faith based. 'Cause a lot of people need that, especially in these trying times right now,
Yeah.
with the crazy man in office. But
Yep.
but yeah, so that's definitely big. So which brings now jumping to like a little sports topics. What does being a fan of Cleveland Browns mean to you personally?
Yeah, so it's so funny because I've been a Browns fan all my life pretty much, but last year I decided to just start posting more about it and it went so crazy. There was actually like I just had a full circle moment, but like what does it mean to me? It just, it's something that's a part of me. I wouldn't say it's like my entire identity, and it's so funny because like when I started posting about it, I started gaining a big Browns audience, which I love because the Cleveland Browns fans, I still stand by this. We're the best fans
That's
in the
crazy.
world. We're so loyal, like it's crazy, even though, our team doesn't do the best, but it's just a part of me. But I had to like really tell people like this is not my entire identity. Like it's just something that I do, but I am mostly trying to identify with a woman of God more than anything. So it's a part of me. It's something that I love, and I do. And my full circle moment came the other day because this past year I ended up going viral for highlighting his jersey.
Mhm.
And I ended up sending him a book, and I don't think he knew it was me, but he ended up like posting my book on his stream. And I was like, this is such a full circle moment, especially being a Cleveland Browns fan. So it's pretty cool.
I know you was hyped, but definitely being a Browns fan. Then also,
Yeah.
Shador's coming up, and he always talks about faith based a lot, particularly from
Mm,
Coach Prime and everybody in his family. So, and I was
yeah.
definitely pretty lit when I saw that. So I said, okay, look at her, I see you.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I was like, I did not expect it. Somebody like just DM'd me and they were like, "Hey," or not DM me. They wrote me on Twitter and they were like, "Did you see this?" And I was like, "No." And
Yeah,
I
that's the crazy thing. You don't ever see the crazy viral. Somebody else got to send it to you,
no,
like, oh damn.
right, exactly. And I just was like so shocked, and I really didn't have any words, but it was a full circle moment because I went viral wearing his jersey, and then he showed my book, so I was like, "This is great."
You gotta get to tap into the PR. Like, yeah, we need him at the book signing. Yeah, I
Like,
seen it.
"Did
I
you
said,
see
okay, look at her. Still on it. But no, yeah, that was pretty cool though. Hopefully y'all do well this year. I know y'all fans been through a lot of trying
this?
times.
So much.
I had went to the actually I went to the Jets Browns game because I got like a thing where I try to go to like the all NFL stadiums. Want to check them off and NBA arenas after that.
Yeah,
I was hoping Shador was gonna come in that game against the Jets, but he didn't. But it
yeah,
was a big game. But I
yeah.
don't know how like y'all Browns fans and Jets fans be like cheering for these teams every Sunday.
Oh, I know, right?
It's like
It's
how do y'all do
insane.
it?
Look, and that was like my first time like going to as many games as I did and actually following them the entire season. Because I've been a fan, but I've been like a hands-off fan. Being hands-on, it was stressful for sure. I was like, how do y'all do this every year? I might not be back next year.
Yeah, 'cause, whew, that's Stefanski era. Whew, Lord.
Yeah, oh, it was crazy. Like it was insane.
Which, all right, jumping to my next question. What has been your most memorable moment as a Browns fan thus far? I think you kind of spoke on it. It might have been the Shador, but I don't want to put words
Yeah.
into
I mean, absolutely going viral, like wearing the jersey, that was definitely a very great moment. I think next to that, though, actually would be meeting cool people from like, being a Browns fan. Like I've met some awesome people and it just got to the point where I was even like invited into like the lounges at the
Oh,
stadium. So I'm in the
those Jones be
lounges.
popping.
Yeah, and I started meeting like the pro Hall of Famers and the like people who played for the Browns. Hanford's one of them. Eric Metcalf is one of them. And
Okay.
like these guys are so cool, so down to earth. So I would say like that's definitely one of my highlights, and one of my favorite moments because like being around them and seeing how they navigate and stuff, it was just like so inspiring to see.
Yeah, because I'm a huge Ohio State football fan, and I went down there in September, and I can see y'all Ohio sports fans a little different, but I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we absolutely are. Like, I mean, we stick it out.
How does your sports fandom influence your content or public identity?
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's kind of a smaller part of my public identity. So before I started talking about the Browns, I had already built my platform. So it added a little bit to it, but I would say it's a small part of my public identity. Even though like people identify with me because they know me from some people know me, or a lot of people I would say know me from the Cleveland Browns content. So it's pivotal in Cleveland as that pertains, but when it comes to my identity and my public identity as a whole, I'm so much more than just the Cleveland Browns fans, right? Like I also, have the show out. I'm an author, like, and that's something that I'm really wanting to elevate even more is the fact that I am an author and a published author, self-published
That's right.
author.
Talk that
And
talk.
so, yeah, so it's like that's like yes, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, that's a part of me, but like my identity is so much more rooted in like these other things that I'm doing and being a woman of God.
Amen. Well, that's real though. Have a woman of many hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you see like sports shaping the community, especially for women and women that are in the content creation space?
Yeah, so it's actually been really great and really cool to see because I actually have made a friend with someone who she's not a Cleveland Browns fan, but she runs a page and it's called Black Girls Love Football.
Sure.
So like I just seen just even with her platform, her doing really amazing things. Like she just posts a lot about, football because she loves football. And of course she posts about her team. But it did so well that she ended up at the Super Bowl with NFL threads. So it's definitely like shaping and creating opportunities for women to thrive in. And I'm seeing a lot of opportunity in that space. So it's definitely growing and I can see where there is, nothing but space and opportunity.
Yeah, I think I saw that she was going around like different states. I think she was in Philly at one point. I said, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they moving." I said, "I see ya."
Yeah.
But what motivated you to become an author and write a book focusing on navigating life through uncertainty? Then
Yeah.
also I saw through another interview that this wasn't your first book. You actually had, I think you had a book with Lemon Pepper.
Yes.
I said, I
Yeah.
said, I said, all right, she out there, she a writer for real.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I actually saw when I started my fitness journey and everything, I was like, trying to really navigate that journey and what that looked like. And I was following this program and she was just talking about everything that you can use. One of those things was lemon pepper. And so I started using lemon pepper on everything. And that's when I decided to write a cookbook and it's called Lemon Pepper Everything. So I started there, but then as time progressed, once I got terminated from my job in January of 2025, I was writing my other book, which is actually now going to be like technically my third book, but it was called Single Until Married. I was writing about my single season because I was coming up on year 5, and I was like, this is the perfect time. Like this is a
Yeah.
nice little like time to do it. And I was as I was navigating that season, I got invited to this thing called Vulnerability Con that my friend Dr. Nigel Marcellus does. And so I wanted to be a speaker at it. And so I applied to be a speaker, and we were talking about uncertainty. And I remember writing, like doing this PowerPoint. And that's when I just feel like God spoke to me and he was like, you know what? You need to write a book about navigating uncertainty. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of it. Like, oh my gosh. But
For
nevertheless, yeah, like after I got that thought, and that's when I went on ahead and I started writing and executing on it. And so yeah, once I started, like I will say, because I've said this before too, I was actually like kind of like not being as obedient on it at first because I wanted to write the Single Until Married, or so I thought. I wanted that to be my first book. But as I started like walking through this journey, I just kept hearing God say, write the book, write the book. So yeah, that's when I went on ahead and finished writing Navigating Life in Uncertainty in August. And I went on ahead and got it self-published. But yeah, it was because I was walking through my own season of uncertainty, and that's when I decided to write Navigating Life in Uncertainty.
like somebody like they always say in church, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But we always
Mhm.
have like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, and they got
Yeah.
like, okay, all
So
right, we're
spot
gonna let you
on.
try. We're gonna let you try to crash into the wall until you figure out like it's not your way, it's mine. But no, sometimes we need that though to get right. And then once we lock in, we be like, oh, I should have been listening. But no, that's great that you was able to write on something that's was impacting your life, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of other people because a lot of people are doing uncertain that can through many avenues, but like maybe like
Yeah.
relationships going south or divorce. People just coming out of college, they don't, they thought they had this nice job, they still trying to find a
Mhm.
job, or
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
substance
Hmm.
abuse. So it's like it's impacting a lot of people. So that's good. That's why I can't wait for the book to come so I can read
Yeah.
it. I'll let you know how I like it. You talked about a little bit. I don't know if you want to expand on it a little bit more. Like, how did your lived experiences influence you in becoming an author?
Yeah, I mean, and so as I was like literally walking through that journey of uncertainty, I had a lot of ups and downs. So as I was like walking through it, I was writing it as well. So walking through those experiences is what really helped shape the book, because I wasn't talking from a place of I'm out of this uncertainty. I can still sit here today and say I'm still in the uncertainty, but it was like, it was very pivotal and very important to add that in, because I think that when you're on that journey of uncertainty, you think you're supposed to have all of the answers. You like sometimes you're not going to have the answers. Sometimes you might be a year in, like me, still like trying to figure it out. But the most important thing was to stay rooted in your relationship with God. And I wrote it on my post today, and I was like, this book, it as I wrote it showed me what it truly meant to trust God. So it shaped it in its entirety, and it's that book was written based on all of my life experiences. And you mentioned like a breakup. That's something that I briefly talked about in there too, because it's not just for the person that lost their job like me, but it's for a breakup because I've been there before. It's for those seasons where you go through a major growth stunt and you're looking and you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. What now?
Yeah.
So it's for those all of those uncertain seasons that we may navigate in life.
Like athletes had their identity crisis, but sometimes like regular people had it as well, going from different aspects of their life where they thought they might have been at this certain period in time where everybody
Yeah.
said I'm gonna be married here at 30, you have kids here, and then you get to 30, you're not married, you don't have kids, and now you're
Yep.
like, oh, I'm behind. Well, really, no, you're right where you're supposed to be at. You just have that, like you had your own personal agenda. It didn't pan out the way it's supposed to. I mean, that's okay, but sometimes some people have a tough time of like actually stomaching that and understanding and say, all right, you know what, God got something bigger for me. And
Hmm.
sometimes it takes people to get to that. Takes a little while for people to get to that point, which is cool because everybody has their own journey with Christ. Um, but yeah,
Yep.
that's definitely pretty cool. Which brings me back to my next point. What drew you into acting, and how does it complement your work as a content creator?
Yeah, so acting came from content creating. So, I was heavily content creating, and I had a friend, or I still have a friend, that's my good friend Dion, who actually wrote and produced the show that we're on, or I'm acting on. But he literally called me up and he was like, "Have you ever acted before?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "I'm writing you into a script." And I was like, "What?" And I thought he was playing. Like, I talk about this all the time. And he was not. He was serious. He was like, we got on the call and we were going through it. And he's like, "Yeah, this is what I'm writing. This is what it is." And I'm like, "Okay." But I've always been somebody who like I love to try new things. So I was like, let's do it. Like let's try it. And I remember getting the first script, reading through it, practicing, and remembering my lines. And I was like, oh, I can do this. So it literally just happened overnight. And once I started doing it, I was like, this is so cool. Like I actually enjoy doing it. And like even after we released the show and stuff, I was like, all right, I'm ready to shoot again. Like when's the next time for us to shoot? Like I'm like ready to do it. But yeah, literally it's just something that just came to me, much like, everything has come to me. And so, and I really just attest that to me walking, by faith and not by sight and allowing God to lead me and me saying, I surrender my will to you. Whatever your will is for my life, I'm open to it because it's opened so many different doors that I didn't even know I was even going to walk through.
Yeah, because definitely when you submit to him, that's when the blessings start coming. You stop trying to fight what you want to do. You're like, all right, I'm gonna let go and let God.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's pretty dope, though. When I watched the episode, I thought you've been acting for a minute. So I mean, I guess you're natural.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, I look forward to watching the rest of the episodes. How do you prepare emotionally and mentally for a role? I know you said, you jump right in the first time. I know you like to say you try new things. But how did
Yeah.
you prepare mentally and emotionally for that role?
Yeah, so I mean, my role really, what I really love about this show is like he didn't want stereotypical roles and stuff. So, these were the roles like actually when you see those successful like black women and friend groups actually thriving, this is what he wanted to showcase. Not saying nobody goes through a struggle, right? Because like Dion, his character is like he's, going through his, career and he's trying to pivot and stuff like that. So it's not that you don't have a struggle, but it's not like that, trauma that you see all the time, that like, where we're down bad. So for this role, particularly for me, I played Queen, and she's a successful woman who owns a boutique and she pretty much has it all together. Mentally, I didn't really have much preparing to do because in a way she kind of is me. And she also is like a very fashionable girl, like, just very like kind of bougie. So like I would say like that's kind of me. I wouldn't say I'm bougie at all, but kind of me in a way. But yeah, so like for this role, it wasn't hard at all to really prepare for it because she had a lot of characteristics that I already had within myself. But yeah, it was very important, or one thing I did have to learn very early on was like that the days for shooting would be all day sometimes. So I think like the very first one, I was a little hangry, like, oh my gosh, like when are we gonna eat? And it's like, no, we can't eat. Like we got our lunch break, that's it. We gotta work. And so after that, that's when I was like, okay, I'm just gonna come like make sure that I have all the snacks that I need to have, and I'll be fine. So I think that's the only pretty much like preparing I had to do, and of course just making sure you get a good night rest and you're constantly going through those lines so that you can be prepared for it.
Oh, that's man. Like Dion took his time and he made the script so he can like fit each character, like to have like a little glimpse of that actual person in real life. So that's
Yeah.
smart on his part. You talked about briefly, like what type of roles are you most passionate about portraying in the future, and why?
Yeah, so I think that I'll always like lean towards like the role kind of like what Queen plays. So it's that powerful woman aesthetic, I would say, are the type of roles that I always want to play, like a role where I'm successful, or whatever the case may be. Like, so I want to continue to play roles like that. I love the series concept. Like, not saying I wouldn't want to be in a movie, because if somebody wants to cast me in a movie, I'm open to it for sure.
Oh,
I
that's
want
right.
to try it all. But I love the TV series portion, because I can see myself just being in something like that extremely long term. Like that's a role that I think absolutely fits me and I can show up and deliver. So it's gonna be those characters that are like, that girl in the group that's just the it girl, like, the successful girl, the lawyer, just has a nice profession. Those are the roles that I kind of continue to see myself in. I think that I don't think that I would ever want to really play a struggle role, because like Dion, when he wrote this script and this storyline, he didn't want the typical stereotypical stuff. And I'm aligned with him on that. So that's why it fit me so good because like, people have reached out to me after this project, like about different things, but I'm like, that just doesn't align with me. And it's also important too for me not to be in those type of roles because of the platform that I'm building. So I believe that it has to align all around, even with my platform, because this is going to be linked to me for life, whatever I decide to do. So yeah.
That's real, because I know you talked about earlier, like authenticity, and then like being your true authentic self, and like we talked about earlier, alignment. A lot of people try to collab with such and such because they have a big following, but they don't really
Yeah.
align with what they're doing. Then not to see why it's like, oh, it was cool working with this person, but I didn't really get the traction I wanted because it wasn't with marinating with your purpose. I've definitely feel
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Yep. So those are the type of roles I could see myself in. And then of course, I always say that I mean, if any producers wanted to cast me for my own reality TV series where I'm like out here trying different activities, I think that would be so dope. Like, why not? So
Got
I
speaking to
see myself doing
existence.
that. Yeah. Yep. So that's something else that I could see for myself too, where I'm like, it's not like drama field, it's like activity field. Like, oh, what is Yan doing today? Like,
No,
So
facts.
yeah.
But if someone was to describe your legacy 10 years from now, what would you want them to say?
I would want them to say that this her legacy was basically filled with being able to always like pivot and try new things. So I want them to be able to say like, you know what, she did not confine herself. She did not like lock herself into one thing. So if you notice with my content, I'm like I'm trying new things all the time. I'm doing different things all the time. So I'll probably fit into what they would consider a lifestyle influencer, even though like I said, I don't consider myself an influencer, but I would fit into that because I just feel like life is to be lived. And I want people to look at my legacy and see like she did not stop at nothing. She tried everything. Like she went out here, she did this, she did that, and she had a great time doing it. I'd also want them to be able to take away my favorite slogan, which is "It's a great day to be great." Like that, she's always happy or was always happy. You know what I mean? So, she didn't let a bad day take over her entire day. So that's what I feel like my legacy is gonna be rooted in, because that's what I'm really building it to be and showcase on a day-to-day basis.
For real, 'cause like the worst thing is like, and I read this book I had to read in like undergrad years called like Lynchpin, and it's like begin with the end in mind. I'm like, who begins with like in your funeral? It's like, bro, the fuck, I'm a senior, I'm an undergrad. Like, why am I reading this book? But like now that I'm older, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, this is actually like a good book. I just wasn't ready to receive it yet.
Hmm.
But like you said, like person to try to do everything. Cause like the worst thing you say, a lot of people like you hear when they're about to die and they take their last breath, they all think about the stuff that they shoulda and coulda did. And
Yeah.
that's the one feeling I don't want to have. When
Yeah.
God pulled me out here, it's like I'm like, well, I tried. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I want to do it all. Like whatever God wants me to do, I want to do it. Like I try to start my days in gratitude and always like, all right, God, what you want me to do today? Like whose lives do I need to touch today?
I feel that because like I started young adult Bible study, and I need to get back because I've been refing all season. So now the season around, I got
Yeah.
no excuse. But like she had like Reverend Mingo, she had us like read the Bible in 90 days, and she was just like in the chat like, if you don't do it in 90 days, don't beat yourself up because like the lot of stuff in the Bible is like deep, and you got to read it over. And like some things
Hmm.
like I learned in the Bible is like a lot of these chapters like kind of repeating themselves. But if you don't really like go
Hmm.
into it like in depth, it's like you don't never know that. And you think like, oh,
Yeah.
a lot of them just like kind of like repeating the same story over again, just different words. But similar
Hmm.
story, but like similar like tactics, but different story. But that was pretty cool. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
like you talking about like getting like reading, like connecting with God in the morning. I feel like everybody should do that because
Mhm.
once you have a relationship with God, like you do it in the morning, it starts to me that and working out in the morning, like start your day off
Oh
right.
yeah, absolutely.
And like it can be like something crazy happen, you be like, all right, whoop de doo,
Hmm.
because you like
Yeah.
your mind is fresh and relaxed, so it's like, yeah,
Yep.
ain't about to phase me. So yeah, it's great that I'm glad you do it. Hopefully, more people continue, get closer to God, start the day with God. Um,
Yeah.
now to jump to our closing remarks. Did you want to like add to anything we already spoke about or talk about anything we haven't spoke about? And also, where can people find your new book, Navigating Life with Uncertainty?
Okay. Yeah. So I think that I was just going to add like my book, Navigating Life in Uncertainty, is available on TikTok, it's available on Amazon, and it's available on my website. But I would say order through my website, especially if you don't live close, because I can sign your copy on if you order through my website. But yeah, so my book is available that way. And then I'm also working on an audio book. So I thought it would be done by the book signing, but it's taking a while. So
I heard that gonna be a process.
it's a process. Yeah. Like I thought it would be done, but it's something that I am working on. So it will be to come. And so I think if I was to expand on anything, I think it would just be just the book, like understanding. The subtitle is understanding, accepting, and navigating uncertainty with God through it all. So this is a faith-filled motivational book that walks you through what that journey looks like. And as I said kind of briefly earlier, it's not about having all of the answers. It's about what you do in the midst of not having those answers. And each chapter, it's about 10 chapters in there, they all start with a Bible verse. So my whole goal of this book was to just get people to build on our relationship with God. Just to your point, like it's building our relationship with God and staying in it. So keep putting God first, keep trusting God. I know it's such a cliche statement, and the way that you can get rooted and continue to build in relationship with God is by reading that Bible every day, if you can. Like, and so I started with just a verse a day. And I actually was somebody who read the entire Bible, and now I'm on my third go around. But I realized it's something that's going to continue to be in my entire life as I continue to navigate life. So, yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, I definitely send you the link with the joint I've been doing because I like it was like 12 pages a day, and I was like, yeah, nah, I did 3 pages a day, like because I would tell people every time, like, don't set no crazy goal that you know you're not gonna accomplish because all it's gonna do is defeat you. It's like you gotta set a goal that's like I'm gonna do it no matter I'm having a good day, a bad day, or in the middle of the day. Like I know I'm gonna get this done. So I was like, I can do 3 pages a day, no
Yeah.
matter what the climate is or how my mood is. So but no, definitely appreciate that. And also, where can people find you on social media?
Yes, so my handle is call her underscore Yan. So that's CALLHER_YAN. And that is on all social media platforms. So I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, Facebook. I have two Facebook pages. I have a Facebook profile, which is my name, Yan Shanklin, and then a Facebook page, which is call her underscore Yan as well. Did I miss any platforms? And my website is callheryan.com. So that's where you can find me. And yeah, oh, I didn't mention anything, I guess, specific to my life coaching. But if you wanted a life coach, I am a life coach. And you can book that through my website. I do one-on-one sessions to start out and just talk with people to see if it's a good fit. So if ever you need a life coach, I am your girl.
No, that's right. Better plug everybody in. But definitely appreciate you coming on, y'all.
Yes, Rob, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Absolutely enjoyed it. And yeah,
Definitely enjoyed this. Appreciate you.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem.